No, I just think that this crisis was years in the making. COVID just really kind of it was the last final nail in the coffin, right? Because at least what I personally kind of assessed, I knew, because I think it was that appreciation thing that the city did for you guys.
On August 3rd, Muslim Appreciation.
Right, okay, so I think it's around that time when we found out, when the board from Madera Community Hospital came to the city of Madera and said, give us some of your PPP money.
You're right, during the public comments.
The county was giving us money. We have so much money, but we need more money. We're gonna go bankrupt. Right, that was August. And it was like, well, what the heck? Didn't we hear anything about it anymore, right?
Yes.
And then of course, fast forward, like Jose works for Trinity Health, so we knew, we had rumors that Trinity Health was coming. Alice Javera, who has a job over there too. Alyssa's mom, who had a job over there too. Now we started hearing from people that we know that, yeah, Trinity Health was buying Madera Community Hospital without it's coming in the paper or anything like that, right? And then of course, right before Christmas, it's not coming out at all, and it's an actual closure. So then on Tuesday or Monday, KMJ 580, Rob Poitras, Supervisor Poitras, is saying Trinity Health was the only hospital, right? And they're a Catholic-run hospital. Madera Community Hospital is a non-profit hospital or something like that, right? And I guess in my understanding, from what I remember him saying was, to avoid monopolies in this kind of transaction, the state attorney general has to come in and get involved to facilitate the transaction, right? And being the California state attorney general says, well, now Trinity Health, you need to provide these services, which what Poitras said was maternity services, so abortions, right? Trinity Health, being a Catholic-run hospital, says, well, you want me to take a $2 million a year loss? No, is it $2 million a year?
I believe, I'm not sure the number actually.
It's a big old number, right? $2 million a year or a month, something like that. It's a big number, right? You want me to take that much loss per year and then now pay for these services plus, these ones here too? I'm out. And there's no other buyers. There's no other buyers at all. So I think that kind of when you kind of unravel some of the pieces, it's been years in the making, right? 80-90% of the population uses Medi-Cal, Medicare, who use the hospital for services, right? And and from what I learned yesterday, domestic violence victims, they don't report it to the PD first. They go to the hospital, because the hospital is legally obligated to report that to the PD, but there's this third person in between, me, the domestic violent victim, and my potential accuser, who could be a cop, right? I mean, that blew my mind, And then other emergency services, like, we have 2 prisons, probably Mendota too, so 3 prisons who probably use this facility for emergency care, not to mention our own police, right? And then you have Valley Children's, who, like, if you were an infant, you had the flu, and Valley Children's was too far, you were low income, you can only make it here, then you get an ambulance ride to Valley Children's, right? That's how that all works, all that works. So I think, in my mind, I think it was years in the making. And then you have Medi-Cal, Medicare, reducing their reimbursement rate, right? And then the hospital losing other services like cardiology, and all those kind of things too, where you can go and have elective surgeries or other surgeries at the hospitals where big insurances will pay the difference, and that's where they're paying their bills. So you get COVID and I have no more surgeries. And I have, 60-70% reimbursement rate for Medi-Cal, Medicare, and all I can treat is COVID, I mean, it just all kind of makes sense. And on top of that too, I also, and I knew this, but they made a point yesterday to supervisors, is that the board is made up of, the CEO is a nurse practitioner, not a businesswoman. She's a nurse practitioner, What does she know about running a business? Let alone 700 medical employees. Nurse practitioners have 10, 20, nurses that they oversee, right? Not 700. And what is that person doing as CEO? Someone made that point. And then the owner of the ambulance company, Pistoresi, is on the board too. And you have other doctors who get paid by the hospital, and let's make sure you get this reimbursement, also on the board too. A supervisor who charges taxes for this nonprofit community hospital is also on the board too. Why was that? It's no one's fault but our own fault why that stupid hospital, why the hospital, I shouldn't say stupid, but why the hospital shut down. It's a shame.
Yeah.
That's in my mind.
No, that is a shame. So at that point, there's really nothing anyone could have done to prevent this from shutting down, except for maybe the state stepping in and.
No, I disagree. I think there's lots of things in hindsight,
Okay.
right? I think there's lots of things that people could have done to do it. First of all, this community needs to stop taking it to Facebook and complain about nurses and say something about it at City Hall and the county and know your representatives, come out and vote. All that stuff matters, right? We need a viable, reliable media resource, for instance, the Tribune is not enough. And social media is controlled by me. I control that page. I control what I want to see and what I don't want to see on that page, right?
Good point, yeah.
So everyone's just kind of blind to all of those things and doesn't realize, I can go and ask the mayor for something, or the assemblywoman for something, or the senator for something, right? They just let it be, No one's interested in any of that stuff. Because, they're going to do what they're going to do anyways. They're not going to pay attention to me anyways, all that kind of stuff. So it's all our fault. Because we should have all realized that, the ambulance owner is on the board. That should never happen. Right?
So
a nurse practitioner is the CEO of my hospital. That should not happen. My county supervisor shouldn't be on that board. Doctor whatever shouldn't be on that board. They can consult. I'd appreciate a nurse practitioner consultant, a doctor to consult.
Right.
Right?
For medical practices, procedures.
But not on the board.
Yeah. But as far as business aspect, there should be
Or especially the ambulances.
We only have one service of ambulance as well.
Only one.
That one service, right?
Yeah. In this area, So when you kind of break it down like that, it's like, no, this is our fault. You could blame the Attorney General and California this and Democrats that and all that kind of stuff. No, I think it was our fault. So I think in that case, and in that argument, no, it was our fault, right? So I think the lesson is, it's not going to happen again for sure that way, right? At least we're going to have to speak up and say, no, we need a real CEO. We need someone with a real business experience to run the 700 employee, $50 million a year business. And nurse practitioner, God bless you and all the talent that you provide and all the services you provide, but I'm going to keep you over here where you are educated and smart enough and passionate enough to do exactly what you are meant to do, which is to practice. That's it. I don't want you writing checks,
Right.
and calling shots, and we're going to hire this ambulance because I like you, or, whatever, I don't know, right? So I don't know.
What are your thoughts, Oscar?
Damn. Honestly, I didn't really think about it much, but when Alex breaks it down, it makes sense that way too. It is our fault, and like you said, you could blame everyone else that was part of the deal that didn't go through, but at the end of the day, it's our voice that needs to be heard, so we should be out there making a change, not just be on Facebook complaining.
So right now, for instance, the other day when you and I, Simon, are talking about it, I actually left here to go visit a client and give her some stuff, right, from a telecompany. And my client happens to also be a nurse practitioner. And she asked me what I think about the hospital. So we're talking about this. And she's telling me her opinions, all that kind of stuff, right? She tells me about the petition. So then, of course, when I go home, I talk about the petition. And I knew I was gonna get some kind of feedback, and I was trying to figure out what to post, all that kind of stuff. So I just copy and pasted and put it on Facebook, whatever. And then I went to all the Madera Inform, Madera County Inform, and all these pages, and it, you know, got approved, and it's on those things. And then people were started complaining. Well, I'm glad that they shut down because those nurses were this and this and that and all that kind of stuff. And I just replied back, you know what? Personal opinions aside, and you know, whatever criticisms aside, like, I'm literally thinking about my family, my friends, my colleagues, the people that I walk across. Like, I'm thinking about everybody, including myself. So I'm realistic scenario is you and I leave this parking lot, get in a car accident, we need emergency room services, and now our mortality rate goes up to 90% from a simple car accident because there's no emergency room here in town. You're gonna wish there was one here in town when you got a busted arm. You know, we get so much as a flu, and we think that we got it good in our hospitals servicing us because we can go to a doctor in Fresno.
Right.
You know, I get the flu once or twice a year. That's it.
Yeah.
Never had a broken arm, never been in any kind of situation, thank God, you know. Oh man.
So basically the problem stems from management, right? So
Prior to,
right?
Right.
Starts management, and then we gave up as residents and citizens of Madera and patients of the Madera
Prior to
Hospital.
that.
Prior to that, right? Gave up. And then, so management gave up, but then there's also arguments that I hear about, you know, Madera Hospital never really even had the resources to be able to provide such emergency services or specific emergency services, that because they didn't have the tools for it or the resources, and they would still then have to be driven to a Fresno hospital via ambulance, right?
And so I kind of understand that.
Is that
too,
because
right?
of the management,
So,
right?
like, let's say, for instance, not every hospital has a maternity ward, let's say, for example, right? And I really don't know, I'm just assuming, right? But let's say not every hospital has a maternity ward. So you or your spouse are pregnant, you need to go to a hospital, you assume you're gonna go over here, right? And they're gonna tell you, nope, but you're ready to pop, we're gonna get you an ambulance, you're gonna go to CRMC. Because they can't do that there. They might be able to deliver your baby in an emergency room situation, but as soon as that baby's here, they're bundling you up and taking you to a real maternity hospital. Because that service isn't here.
Okay.
What I learned the other day is not every hospital is created equal, just like what you just pointed out. Not every hospital is created equal.
Right.
Because what someone pointed out yesterday was, why not let it go bankrupt and then change your licensing to emergency room only, right? Like, the way they were kind of putting it was, if you remember a few years ago in Tulare County, Kauai Health also went bankrupt and shut their doors, right? But what they were pointing out was something like in Tulare County, there's a medical district in Tulare. So there's other services like clinics, urgent cares, and hospitals in Tulare County, right?
Right.
So Kauai Health wasn't the only hospital. So what they did was they decreased or they changed their licensing to reopen, right? But now, let's say, for instance, they don't take maternity. If you have a heart attack, you can get treated for emergency services there. Or if you get a 911 call and you say, I'm having a heart attack, they're gonna take you to another hospital, not Kauai Health.
Gotcha.
You see?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that happens in Fresno too, by the way. You know?
Kind of population control at the hospitals, kind of.
Well, they kind of shifted around, right?
And also because the services are not being
Like
operated in the
CRMC is a big hospital, they do everything, right?
Right.
And like Kaiser is only for those people who pay specifically for Kaiser, that's everything in Kaiser.
So that model was suggested for Madera Hospital.
And then like the heart hospital is strictly heart, it's strictly just cardiology.
Yeah.
If you're pregnant and I want to see a doctor, well, you don't go to the heart hospital.
Right.
You know, you call 911, they ain't taking you to the heart hospital. They're taking you to St. Agnes, where they got a maternity ward.
Right.
Right? Or if you're closer to Clovis, they'll take you to Clovis. That's the maternity ward over there too. You know? So that's kind of like, that makes sense now to me, is like this medical district, right? Well, Madera doesn't have another hospital, right? So then what they were pointing out was the only way to do that is to build another facility or open up another one in Oakers and Coarsegold. They're thinking like Camarena, increase their services there, right? Where they could take an emergency room, for example, right? But not have surgeries, not have a maternity ward, but they'll have an emergency room, for example. And then this one could too. And you can reopen up this one here at a different licensing and open up this one over here to maternity, or, you know, maternity and emergency room services only.
For like life-threatening situations.
Yeah.
Like that.
But like but you couldn't have elective surgeries, that kind of stuff, right? So if you need a back surgery and you chose Madera because your doctor, you know, your doctor was gonna do it for you, right? Let's say even the doctors that we know here in town, but they're available and there's a room available at Madera, right? And they can do it for you there.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, and it might just be more convenient for Madera residents to stay at your hospital, especially with family being around or whatever the case might be. So you mentioned a petition. So I've signed the petition, you've signed the petition, Oscar signed the petition. And
so
what do we
the petition, and I think the petition was pretty good. So like, you know, that person was complaining, and I just basically told her, all hands on deck, there's another day to make a complaint. Today's not the day.
Wow,
This is for
nice.
everybody. Like grievances aside, and I have them too, all that kind of stuff. This is for everybody. Because I can't live myself, if I didn't do anything for you, my family members, my friends, anything like that, or myself, knowing I could have at least put the stupid petition out.
You're right.
You know, I don't know what it's gonna do.
If we didn't, like we said, we gave up before, and the least we can do is step up now before it is kind of too late, but step up now, do what we can to bring back emergency services, a facility here in Madera.
You know, yesterday
For our city.
a Assemblywoman Soria said that she was on the phone with Senator Caballero, Assemblyman Jim Patterson, which kind of covers Madera and some Fresno, like that, mostly Fresno. They were here. No congresspersons were here, but the Assemblywoman, Assemblymen were here, right? And they were saying that they were on the phone with each other and also on Zoom calls with the governor for like 10 hours the day before, right? So our leaders it's like top priority. You know, we got to get this hospital over here. And for Jim Patterson, and I was just kind of impressed. Jim Patterson over here, this is a concern, slightly a smidgen of Madera, if you will. And no, I'm here to find out what's going on from the supervisors, what can we do, all that kind of stuff, right? But them plus 10,000 signatures to the governor, I think is impressive versus just those 4. And those signatures, without the petition, that's the most I can do, right? I voted for Soria and I voted for Caballero, and they're on the phone, I believe, for 10 hours straight with the governor. I believe that. Let me add a signature on the list and hopefully present that too. There's 10,000 people, right? 20% of the population right here.
So that's obviously a great thing that, our leaders are stepping in and making sure that Madera has their hospital. It's a top priority. But we knew back in August there's a problem. There's a huge concern that was brought forward from representatives of the hospital that we are going bankrupt, essentially, right? We need funding. Essentially, they were asking for that help that they need to 4 or 5 months prior, right? Where was everybody then?
Well, so in not defending.
I'm not pointing fingers at anybody.
Like
just
specifically, right?
Before it's too late, right?
Yeah, but in August, that was 45 days prior to Assemblywoman Soria becoming Assemblywoman Soria.
Right. Yeah.
So what could someone running for office have a voice in front of the governor?
Definitely, yeah.
That's you and I can go and try to see the governor, right?
But other local officials that were informed, right?
Also, going back to August, for example, And who knows how long these transactions take, right? But
Yeah.
they're more than 90 days, that's for sure. These are years, you know. This was like a year at minimum, right? That you kind of put it out there to your market, right? Aetna, Korea Health, Trinity Health. You hit up all these little hospitals or all these other hospitals. Who wants to buy us because we're going back up? Here's our portfolio, and we got a $5 million a year loss,
Yeah.
right? Or $2 million a year loss, or whatever like that, right? So, who wants this? Well, no one does, but I'll take it. I'm saying that because I'm Trinity Health. Okay, so let's do some paperwork. Attorneys talk back and forth, all that kind of stuff, right? And then it's getting worse and worse and worse. And it's reported that the county got PPP money. Can you give us some? Yeah, we'll give you some, right? We have a little bit of extra left over. We'll give you some. So the city, you got PPP money. Can you give us some? Well, I can't give you any. You know, because we got water infrastructure, we got roads to put in, we got projects that haven't been built, that we've been waiting for. I can't. The county has millions and millions of dollars. They could do it. I can't do it. Okay, so that makes sense, right?
Right.
And then, like I said, Trinity Health is the one to buy it.
Right,
know.
the only person that's done.
And then, I think roughly around that time too, somebody been Frank Bigelow went to the state legislature and got like several millions of dollars approved in the last governor's budget for the hospital too. But that money's not gonna come out till March. Something like $5 million or something like that, or $15 million, I have no idea. I think like $15 million.
I think it's 15 is going to be separate or allocated.
You know, but it's not gonna come until March.
Right.
So it was approved last year, which is fantastic, right? Thinking, okay, here's $15 million on the books, we got some PPP money, right?
Yeah.
Take some losses, we'll reduce some services, right? Trinity Health's gonna come in. But then the Attorney General comes in, says, no, we need these things, right? And they say no.
So they said.
So I think to your point, where were they? They were there. This was not a sleeping thing.
It's not just happened overnight, obviously.
You
Yeah.
know, it's just the money's not going to come here fast enough. That's just it.
Right.
And by the way, the emergency room was already closed. It closed like what?
Yesterday.
Yeah. So what was the
Like-
objective of the supervisors board meeting? Of this objective?
It was a town hall.
Okay.
That's all that it was,
Got it.
right?
Got it.
Because they called it a special board meeting, and
Yeah.
no offense to like council Supervisor Leticia, right? Because she posted and I reposted that, so I appreciate the knowledge of it. I had heard it from Puerto, so I thought it was 11 a.m. Apparently that's 10 a.m. The hour is 10 a.m. Whatever. I was trying to get there earlier, but I didn't see Brett Frazier and I didn't see the other, and I think it's because they're not appointed yet. We're just kind of in a weird time of the year that they're just not on board yet. And the supervisors meetings, the last official one for the year had already happened. So staff like on vacation. Those two guys are probably on vacation too. No offense. I mean, I'm not upset with them.
Right.
But they're on the way. They're literally on the way out. They were either appointed to other things, right, or elected out. So we have three. What could the board have done without the fourth or fifth?
Yeah.
You know, what action could they have done yesterday? So it was a town. I was thinking about that, like, where's the other two? And I was just kind of getting upset. I did see the two electeds in the back, but I'm sure they haven't been sworn in yet. You know,
Right.
this wasn't a special board meeting to have action. There was no quorum.
Yeah.
It was a town hall.
Wow. So it was just a spontaneous meeting in a way.
And so I got through. I got there right before 11. So that was what they say, 45 minutes in, and that's all the department heads. So you hear from all the other kind of services, sheriff, probation. We heard from commander from the Madera Police Department, domestic health, senior care. You heard from all these services, and they went up there. And here's what's going to happen to our department, and here's the services that we share with this hospital, right? And then now we'll let the community open it up. And I wanted to hear as a Catholic, I saw the priest there from the church, and I wanted to hear what he was going to say, and I had to leave. But I appreciated that too, that the church was going to say something too. I wish I could go back and look at it, but the church is going to say something too. You know?
Yeah.
Because they don't ever comment on anything at all, but to come and say, you know, I wanted to hear what he had to say.
It's true.
So I don't know, it was just very,
So what do we do from here? What is the next move? How do we get a hospital? How do we get emergency services in Madera?
I think, for me personally, I have to trust that my assemblywoman and my senator are doing everything that they possibly can to get in front of the governor, and I believe them when they say this is a priority, right? I believe them.
Yeah.
I know them, I've worked with them, I've been on a campaign with both of them.
Right.
I believe them, right? I think city officials cannot just be like, well, it's not our, you know, they should not be complaining at all. Because you're right, they were in front of them and asked them for money too. Was it gonna help? I have no idea, you know? You're right, yeah, we need water services too, but something, guys, you know? At the same time, I also understand the city, you know, they fired some staff members, planners, and, you know, city planners, everything like that, and then those guys left with them, and there's no city planners, you know? And then we have no development, and so we have no money, and then now we have water issues, thank God for PPP, but like, you know, it was that or raise taxes, and we already had our sales tax raised, like 2 of them in the last 10 years or whatever, I don't know, you know? So, but those guys can't complain, they gotta do something more than just pray, you know? And then the county supervisors take 0 salaries. Each one of them get paid like $150,000 a year. You know, that's $500,000 right there across the board. You know, all of them just take 0 salaries for the year. You know, like the sheriff, for example, I don't know how much he gets paid. It's that, or God forbid, your officers are in a shootout and there's no emergency room for you. Man. If I was a sheriff, yeah, I'm taking no salary. I'm take my people, you know. Man, I don't know. And then, you know, they talk about PPP. Some of those projects are already started. Some of those money's already delegated. Okay. I was talking to Andrew Martinez. He says, yeah, but some of the other money is just salaries. So cut some salaries. You know, go back to furlough days. I don't know, something. All of it's on board. Do you loan money to the hospital until they can change their licensing? Do you go and tell Camarena, let's go and change you up here, up north to a different kind of clinic in Corscold and whatever to get into this medical district? Do we change your licensing? Do we get approved that way? Do we go back and beg Trinity to change it? You know? Do we ask the Attorney General for a religious exemption on abortion services? I don't know. So click on the link below, change.org, and sign the petition to save Madera Community Hospital, which has been in this community for over 50 years. When the petition first went out, at least when I saw it, it was about 3,000 signatures. I think right now it's close to 9,000 signatures. We need to get to the next threshold, which is 10,000 signatures. So get on there and sign the petition, change.org.